Thanks very much indeed, David. And I'm absolutely delighted to join you at this event to share the work of the Natural Capital and Ecosystem Assessment Programme for the first time. I'm very glad that we're saying that before I've had my Friday gin and tonic. And just to say that as somebody who didn't get O-level geography or O-level biology, unlike Michael Gove, I can't get enough of experts. So I'd just like to say how great it is to be in a room full of experts. And my, I think, mission is to try and translate some of what is happening here at the very esoteric, scientific, national level into and to blend that across with what the new government is attempting to achieve. And as David said, as the first ever Minister for Nature, I want to talk to you today about how important it is that we better understand our natural world and the value that it holds for people. We know that we have 5 missions across Defra, and one of them is to speed up nature's recovery, and the other one is to clean up lakes, rivers and seas. So I was particularly interested in Katrina and Owen's discussion around the water monitoring piece. And Julian, thank you for your introduction to the land use and local nature recovery strategies. I haven't yet, I think, had my deep dive on some of that. I've had a superficial aerial overview. But our mission as a government is to create a world free from poverty on a livable planet. And the planet does look to us to think deeply and set the baselines for some of this research. So what we're hearing about today is really internationally groundbreaking research. And so I think you can give yourselves a huge pat on the back, round of applause for the work that has gone into this. This is first in kind, this is best in class. And I think David and the team and Gideon Henderson, under whose scientific leadership this has been formulated, really, you all deserve a huge vote of thanks. We know that our natural capital assets are estimated to, well, I've got 2 different speeches today. One speech said it's worth £1.55 trillion, and this speech says £1.4 trillion. So that just shows the importance of using one single data source when writing speeches for the minister. And delivering, so somewhere between 1.4 and 1.5, that's quite a big number actually, because I'm still not clear what trillions are. So delivering over £35 billion worth of ecosystem services a year. But this doesn't begin to capture the full value we place on nature. And one of the really interesting things when Katrina and Owen were talking was about, what do people want from their rivers? And, I was at a river festival in Coventry on Saturday. And it was about the River Sherborne. And I discovered that that was the name of the stream that I'd paddled in, the filthy, polluted, industrial effluent stream that I had paddled and played in as a child. It was like, oh, that was the River Sherborne. I had no idea. And being Coventry post-war, we basically took the River Sherborne out of the city centre, concreted over it, and it comes out in a little sort of tunnel on the other side of the city. So the river literally disappears, but we have the Sherborne ward to remind us of the fact that there was a natural asset that once flowed through it. So our cities are named after the rivers that we buried to build them. And if you think about Hounds Ditch, you think about Brent, the River Brent, all of these places water was integral to life in these places. Nature is the monopoly provider of everything we need to live, and healthy ecosystems are essential for us to thrive. But we are one of the most nature-depleted countries in the world. About half of our bird species and a quarter of our mammals that have been assessed are at risk of extinction. And just to go back to the River Festival in Coventry, one of the exciting things that I discovered is that the canal that flows through Foals Hill, the most deprived ward in my constituency, is a nationally significant breeding site for voles. And what I can tell you is that probably me and 99.9% of my constituents couldn't probably tell the difference between a vole and a rat. And if we can't tell the difference between a vole and a rat, then don't blame people when they are poisoned and persecuted, because what we don't know, we can't protect. So now I know that, I'm going to appoint myself as the species champion for voles. I don't know whose permission I need to ask, but hopefully nobody's. So our precious landscapes are in decline, and our rivers, lakes and seas are awash with pollution, or possibly not, depending on what our monitoring will show us in the next couple of years. And I genuinely do hope that, you know, we have a better picture, and that, you know, we do see an improving picture. Beach litter, about which I was asked at Defra oral questions this morning from Polly Billington, the new MP for the Isle of Thanet, remains abundant on UK coastlines, with plastic items constituting 88% of the total litter collected. And I really want us to rebrand waste, because there's no such place as away, there's no such thing as waste. There's only resources that are in the wrong place. I do really hope that the waste reforms that we will be bringing in will enable us to build that circular economy, which is another one of our key 5 missions for Defra. We know air pollution continues to plague our towns and cities, and we must turn this around. To deliver for nature, we need to know what state it is actually in. I missed Gideon's presentation this morning, but he did highlight the fantastic work that the programme is doing. We heard about NCEA's innovative approach to data collection and analysis, capitalising on developments in science and technology. This is the largest scale, most comprehensive collection of data on our natural assets ever undertaken, and it will enable long-term monitoring capability into the future. And one of the things I've already had a chat with the team about is the need for a standardised measure of assessment. So we have 30%, we have 16%, but that means nothing if we're measuring in hectares, and X kilometres of hedgerows needs to be aggregated into hectares of hedgerows. I know that's kind of slightly annoying, but I'm sure with all the clever talents in the room that we can do that, because that is how we achieve transparency. That is how we co-create the outcomes that we want to see. That is how we harness the collective genius, not just in this room, but in all the NGOs and in all the towns and cities that me and my political colleagues represent. This government is laser focused on restoring and protecting nature, and this will be a new approach. Mission-driven government means raising our sights as a nation and focusing on ambitious, measurable, long-term objectives that provide a driving sense of purpose for the country. In Defra, we have a priority to drive forward nature recovery, and in July, we announced a rapid review of the Environmental Improvement Plan, which will be completed by the end of the year to deliver our legally binding targets to save nature. We are also committed to delivering the Environment Act targets for England by 2030. This review is an important step in turning the page on nature recovery. And we're committed to growth that does not weaken environmental protections, ensuring biodiversity net gain and nutrient neutrality. We are putting the UK back on the world stage as a global leader on nature, but protecting and restoring our environment starts right here at home. We spend billions on environmental improvement activities, yet lack holistic data to show our collective impact. The ability to measure and value nature is essential for making informed policy decisions about how we protect and enhance our natural capital while delivering nature-positive growth. That's why NCEA is so important, as it will transform environmental decision-making in England by generating a whole system picture of the state of our natural environment. It will help us to demonstrate the impact of our interventions to improve nature's resilience. And it will enable users better to understand the complex interdependencies and pressures on our habitats and ecosystems. This assessment will contribute to a range of Environment Act targets, including species status and abundance in England, creating habitats outside of protected sites, reducing pollution by agriculture, improving woodland cover, and it will contribute to UK marine strategy targets to achieve good environmental status in UK seas. And it will also help to deliver our government manifesto to improve access to nature for people. It supports the developing, monitoring and evaluation of key policies such as biodiversity net gain, ELMS schemes, marine protected areas, fisheries management plans and local nature recovery strategies, some of which we've heard about today. And it will feed into the development of high integrity nature markets, mobilising investment from outside government into nature recovery and restoration, a priority for Defra and a priority that sits within my ministerial portfolio. And just a brief aside on that, we are attending the COP16 in Cali, Colombia next month in October, where we will be in the driving seat on data systems, what is it called? DSI, data sequencing's information. Why is that? I find it impossible to remember. Data sequencing information. Look, it's hard for me, right? And I'm an enthusiast. So how do we translate what we are trying to do there to the person in the street? This is what I think is really difficult with some of this stuff. We're talking about abstracts and we're not talking about the things that are tangible. So I think the sort of translation piece here is really important, but essentially crowding in capital from the users of genetic sequenced material to go back into the peoples and communities that have helped us in those discoveries is a key mission, and one where, again, our brilliant colleagues in Defra are providing, again, with world-leading thought and policy innovation in this area. Nature isn't secondary to economic growth. It is the basis upon which we will deliver economic growth. Without nature, we would have no economy, health, or society. We must value nature in our decision-making if we want to deliver sustainable growth into the future. And you've taken time out of your busy diaries to attend this event because you know this already. And you know we have reached a critical moment. We must take action to protect our natural world. NCEA is a crucial part of this action, and we can only know if our interventions are working if we have the evidence base to inform and evaluate them. So over the next 3 years, this assessment will deliver a rich tapestry of new information on the natural environment, a comprehensive assessment of our natural capital and ecosystems. And I ask that you take the opportunity of being here in a room full of like-minded peers, and it's been great to meet some new colleagues and friends. And also I just want to pay a massive tribute to Carl von Riebnitz, who sat on the other side of an environmental audit committee, select committee assessment into the Ministry of Justice in 2017. He and his colleagues answered some very difficult questions on the protections for nature in the Ministry of Justice, and who responded to the challenge of the committee's report by becoming the Ministry of Justice's Chief Sustainability Officer. I'd like to see, don't know what I'm allowed to say, but this is the thing with being a new minister, I'm not allowed to commit news. But I would like to see a Chief Sustainability Officer in every department, and I think we should be working from the bottom up as well as the top down in government to bring together people of goodwill and like mind to really push the envelope on this and to co-create some of the change that we want to see, driving sustainability across government. As government is the largest purchaser of goods and services in the country, imagine what we can do if we can change our government procurement practices to make them aligned with nature positive outcomes. So do talk to each other, do network, and do continue to explore together how you can build natural capital evidence and approaches into the works of your organisations, and how NCEA can support you to do that. Thank you very much for your time.